after lunch. After tea.
There's so many things. And we have just got to the end of the second day of questioning of the undercover police officer Carlo Soracchi, who, using the cover name Carlo Neri, infiltrated the Socialist Party, No Platform, other anti-fascist groups. He deceived 3 women into intimate sexual relationships. We heard from 2 of them last week, Donna McLean and Lindsay. We have just heard it's been a pretty shocking afternoon. I'm joined by Evelyn Lubbers of the Undercover Research Group. Shocking afternoon of evidence.
It is, yeah, because although he doesn't recall, there's a lot he doesn't recall. There's a lot of.
It's pretty common. The most common thing he says is, "I don't recall."
I don't recall, but I don't dispute.
Yes, yeah. That's his catchphrase.
Jason Bishop line, basically. But then he has been acknowledging quite a lot where you really go like, what did you just say? It's difficult for me to remember what was before and after the tea break.
I think since the first thing after the tea break was looking at the trip to Bologna that he took with Donna for Valentine's Day and also his fake 32nd birthday.
Yeah.
And we saw the authorizations for that, which claimed that he was going to Florence in order to meet with members of the Committee for Workers International. He took a completely different approach to this, the way
the way he dealt with Venice.
Yeah, completely different, to the point where it didn't make any sense that what he said about Venice, because he was just like, I just misled them.
This was the first moment where you go like, what did you just say? And we've had so many issues where he tried to wriggle himself out of things and tried to lie and not to lie and to explain things where he dug a hole deeper and deeper. But here he said, no, just maybe it was just for, to keep up my cover.
Well, he said it was legend building, and then he was presented with the section of the authorization document that said that what he was going to do was going to meet with these members of the Committee for Workers International, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, oh, no, that's not true. I didn't say that. I never said that. My managers made it up.
And that's like completely the opposite of what he said before. And also what we have been mentioning here before is that an undercover officer going abroad to be the only sort of liaison to meet foreign activists is very problematic legally. And
nonsense.
Yeah, and it's nonsense, but if he would, it would be problematic because not only, well, I don't even want to go there, but the authorities in the other country would have to know. It would require different authorizations. It would be very, very complicated, and none of that happened. And he just went like, nah. I just went there for fun. That's basically what it
was
is.
A romantic trip. I mean, he was fine with this being a romantic trip. Yeah. We got on. The very last thing. We're all out of order here, but the very last thing that was talked about was the plot to firebomb the shop that was run by Roberto Furore, the leader of the Italian third positionist movement, the international third positionist movement, a fascist terrorist from Italy. He was, yes, he knows all about this. Yes, he's read the allegations about
my Italian background, I know all about that. And Donna and quite a few other friends from back in the day remember that at that very New Year's Eve party where he also proposed to Donna, which he claims not to remember, he suggested that place should be bombed. It was a charity shop, basically. Yeah, firebombed. He suggested it was like a charity shop with people living above it, and like completely impossible plan. This time he said he couldn't remember, and no, he would never have suggested that.
But then within the same breath, he said it's entirely possible that he suggested it, which was something he kept doing. He kept sort of jumping around. Absolutely not. Well, yes, was one of his other answers at one point. I mean, it was entirely possible I did that, but I have no memory of it, and I'm sure I didn't do it, but it's entirely possible that I did.
Yeah, it's like, where do you
go pick the bones out of that, man.
Yeah, it's like, it's a difficult one for me too. But then, he's been like this all day, and it's like, well, we did say that today we had hardly any breaches, one small one, so that was weird as well. Like yesterday he continuously breached reporting orders and restriction orders, and YouTube had to be stopped, and we had to sort of, like 10 minutes break. None of those today.
Just the one before lunch. Yeah, I mean, there was also a lot of stuff about the meeting that he had with Dell, where DCI Dell called him out on the fact that what he referred to as affairs, that he'd been having affairs, and he had to confess the fact that he'd had 2 relationships, but they were both over. This wasn't true. This was in the midst of him continuing to have a relationship with Donna McLean. He denies that his second child was born by his wife during the relationship with Donna McLean, though from what he said from the timeline, it very blatantly was.
Yeah.
I mean, he appears not to really know the timeline particularly well. He jumps all over the place. He says that he confessed to his wife about the relationships, and that she told him to get out. Yet then he also claims they went on a holiday together in that summer after he'd told her.
Yeah, but that can be true.
It could be true. It could be true.
They
But
have a kid together. They didn't mention that at that point in time she was also pregnant with the next one while their relationship was breaking up, and he claimed, and that was one of the things that I can believe, is that she threw him out, but they still had to get together, and she had to go to work, and he was free during the day. So,
but then also that they had a very happy holiday together for 2 weeks in Italy that summer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was a lot of things which I felt didn't really add up. He admitted that he was misleading DCI Dell about the fact the relationship had ended. He doesn't. We had this. I mean, I think one of the weirdest moments was David Barr reading an extract from Small Town Girl about a time when Carlo took Donna on a date and then took her to the top floor, a secret floor of the Barbican, which ended with he put his arms around me, dragged me close, and he was hard as a rock. Which, I mean, in relation to his penis,
and like Barry design was like sort of cringingly embarrassing.
Yeah. I mean, like Barr sort of tailed off. He was like, "Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to say this." I mean, he denied that happening, but he said it sounded marvelous.
That was so disgusting. He had a few more moments where he said like, don't remember it, but it would have been good. And, like
marvelous.
Marvelous. Yeah, in this case, but there were a few other moments where he did stuff like that. It's totally disgusting, really. I think one very important thing that we do need to do is reconstruct that timeline and add the claims of when things happened according to him and when they happened according to Donna and Lindsay, who both have diaries and things written down
and have worked on the timeline.
Yeah. So much more likely. So he is so strangling himself into lies that it's almost painful to see.
I mean, he is squirming a lot, though he is prone to laughter and smiling as well. I mean, it is very strange the way he's really all over the place.
He still wants to please, like this. The sir was a bit less, like yes sir, no sir, no sir, sure, sure.
We went through a lot of his reports just over the last hour, including the one which claimed that Joe Batty intended to take No Platform underground and take the fight against the far right into their living rooms. I mean, it was pointed out to him this was an absolutely insane idea for someone, particularly for someone with such a professional career as Joe Batty had. And he said, "Oh yes, but that's what they were saying." He admitted that much of the stuff that he was reporting before the event was bravado by men of a certain age in large groups who'd been drinking, and that perhaps, it was obviously made it unlikely. It was put to made it unlikely. He said, well, it wasn't for him to know that. It wasn't for him to know. And he had to report it such as it was.
Yeah, he just wrote up what he heard.
He then said, which I thought was I think one of my favorite things that he said, was that he doesn't know the fact that he was writing these pre-formal reports before events where he would say loads of people were going to come, there was all this violence planned, there was going to be attacks on the far right, and then when it actually transpired that none of these things happened, he doesn't know that that's not because of his intelligence, which informed the policing plan and prevented that disorder from taking place. Even he didn't believe that very blatantly as he was saying it. But I think that really kind of speaks to the absolute nonsense of these reports. The fact that he was blowing up he was making things up so much before the event, and then when nothing happened, he just has to find a way to square it.
The uselessness of this entire unit. like there's one thing is that blowing up everything because they want to please their superiors. They want the unit to continue to exist because it's very, like with all the perks, the sex, the extra money, the holidays to Italy. They want it to continue to exist, but it's also um, they were all into it. The managers and the superiors knew this and knew that it wasn't going anywhere and it wasn't leading anywhere. But they just, like, it's so incredible still that it took to 2008 to sort of, finish this entire unit.
He was asked about John Dines and the fact that John Dines had to relocate from New Zealand to Australia as a result of Helen Steele trying to track him down. He said that he never knew John Dines, but he was aware of the gossip. There was a lot of gossip about this topic. This is directly contradicts what we've heard from every other officer during his time period of deployment. He says that the management didn't want them to discuss it. He wasn't allowed access to the files about John Dines, but everybody was talking about it. This was a regular topic of gossip. And he knew the details of where he was moving to. He tied it to what was revealed in the True Spies documentary, which he felt very much was a betrayal. But I mean, one of the things that he's really kind of got across during his evidence over the last 2 days is that there was a lot of chit chat, as he referred to it, within the unit, within the field, amongst the field officers about events, something which other officers from his time period are simply denying ever happened.
That is true, but he also kept saying that he never talked about his relationships that nobody knew about, or just nobody knew about. It wasn't talked about. Well, and that is, of course, you would think that would be one of the main things talked about when it's about gossiping and chit-chat.
Yeah, I mean, some of it was highly unbelievable. During one time period, he was living with HN 77, Jackie Anderson, the female undercover police officer of the same time period as him. They were sharing a flat. This was before he moved in with Donna McLean. Donna McLean visited him in that flat, and he said that, whilst it was obvious that they were in a relationship to all the activists that were around him, that HN 77 wouldn't have been aware that they were a couple when she came and visited and stayed at that flat. Just simply not credible in any sense. He also said, I wouldn't have known what she was up to either. Sorry. Which when he was pushed on that and said, oh, do you believe that she was having a relationship while she was deployed undercover? He said, oh, he never got a sense of that.
Yeah, well, what to believe of a permanent liar? I don't know.
I mean, that goes for everything he says, obviously. But I mean, I think it was telling that he had the way that he pointedly said, I don't know what she was up to either. Sorry. There were so many things that he was saying. I mean, particularly earlier on in the afternoon when we went through this insane story about his father's death and the fact that his sister had alleged that his father had been sexually abusive of her. He was like, no, I never said that. I said it was physical abuse, not sexual abuse. I mean, just not credible given the detail we've heard from both Joe Batty and Donna McLean about this topic. Really, really distasteful, disgusting stuff. Things which, I mean, just and why? Why would he felt the need to make it up?
I don't know. Like, he also tries to claim that he was really on the verge of a breakdown by that time.
He says he actually did have a breakdown, is what he said.
Yeah. And then I do remember from his witness statement that he said that he blames the managers that they didn't take him out by that time. And he didn't say anything about that today, I
mean, he said that he didn't inform his managers that his marriage was on the rocks, his marriage was breaking down, because if he did, they would have taken him out of his role, and he wanted to maintain his role.
And also he said that there was some support available and that they were obliged to go and see a counselor.
Psychiatrist.
That's a difficult word for me. But that they would never tell them everything.
Well, yeah,
so it's like he didn't tell. He did tell about his marriage problems, but not about the relationships they had. So what's the use of any therapy if you don't tell those essential things?
I mean, it's something we've heard from numerous undercover officers, that it was the belief that anything you told the psychiatrist would be passed on to the managers, and therefore you couldn't admit to anything that you were doing that you didn't want to tell the managers about. And he certainly, I mean, he maintains that he wasn't telling his managers about the relationships until he was confronted by DCI Dell on that matter.
Yeah, well, that again comes back to the timeline, because he's so confused and so conflicting in what he's saying about that and what happened when. I do want to look into that and see if that makes any sense at all, because he's all over the place. He doesn't seem to know his own timeline, and he gets sort of strangled into his own lies because he's saying one thing and then another thing an hour later, which Barr has sort of confronted him.
I mean, there were plenty of occasions where he said one thing and said the opposite thing within seconds.
Yeah.
Literally within seconds.
Yeah. So he's like, I don't know. I'm very curious to see what we'll have tomorrow, because I guess they're going to take us through more reports, because we've practically come to the end of the relationship with Donna. There's the third woman who we don't know exactly when he met her for the first time.
Well, we had mention of it. Apparently, he went on a date with her before he got into a relationship with Donna, but it was a one-off date, and it was just before she went traveling. He said that she could come down and answer questions, and she could tell you exactly what she thinks about all this, which suggests that he believes that he's convinced her of his lies.
Yeah, well, she now knows that he was an undercover officer, and she stayed with him. They're supposedly married and having a child. So, she's standing behind him, stands by a man, apparently. Although I am curious to see what she thinks after these 2 days of evidence and the next one.
I've just had a look. Terrible trouble with the internet. This might be a terrible picture. It's because I'm having to use my phone to connect through the laptop, which is very irritating. I've just had things saying it's on low power, so it might cut out at any moment. Please do like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. It makes a huge difference to how visible these videos are. He is booked in for another 2 days of evidence. It may be that only tomorrow is the one where he's actually questioned. It can go either way. I mean, people say, "Oh, it's definitely going to happen." It's definitely not. We'll definitely run it Thursday. We definitely won't. We really don't know. But we'll have a better idea tomorrow. Just at the end, Mitting said that it won't run a second longer than 4:30. Clearly, he's got a hot date. That was his last comment at the end of the day.
Really...
It was interesting. We had one of Mitting's interventions into the proceedings, asking further questions of Carlo Soracchi in relation to the rent book, which was brought up just after lunch. He was clearly not satisfied with the answers.
No, so I asked all Barr's questions again, and we had the same sort of mixture of lies and lies again, and it's quite clear that his managers were into it. The rent book was just a fictional thing to be able to.
Yeah, I mean his answers about that was that it was a composite figure, that the £685 a month was meant to cover like 50% of everything, which is still made it a huge amount. We've just had some comments. Someone from the campaign opposing police surveillance. The third woman, he insisted it wasn't sexual before his relationship with Donna, yet Donna's book says he told her it was a casual thing.
Yeah, I looked that up, and in the profile we did back in the day when we exposed him, it said that he had a few dates with her. It was clearly more than, and also I think he admitted today that he was going to finish up with her before he started with Donna. So there's conflicting evidence again.
Yeah, no shortage of that. It's been quite a long day.
Yeah,
it's been a very tiring afternoon of very intense stuff. I mean, and not least for Donna and Lindsay, who are in the public gallery, are following on as he gives his bullshit answers. There's more to come. We'll be back again tomorrow, 10 a.m. It will be broadcast again. There is going to be a closed section at some point. I'm not sure when that will be scheduled in for, but please do tune in if you can. Please share anything to do with this topic as far and wide as you possibly can. Anything you'd like to add?
No.
Thanks for joining us. See you again in the morning. Bye for now.